Lux is one of the decks that's up on my website. This deck got hit by 2 different nerfs in the last patch. So Grand Plaza here no longer gives an extra defense when you're blocking with it. And the Challenger, it still gives Challengers. I think this card's still pretty reasonable overall. I have scaled down from playing the full 3 copies of it because I don't think it's likely good enough to be worth gumming up on the second one. So I'm splitting single combat and Grand Plaza now in this build. A new card that we got that's a pretty good upgrade is this is a card I've been pretty high on so far with playing it. 3/2 lifesteal for 4 is just like a pretty good rate. It blocks fearsomes, it buffers your life total, and then against control, it generates card advantage as well. Invoking a Celestial that costs 3 or less is super reasonable in a lot of instances. This can grab like an Equinox to silence something, it can grab a Danger Noodle to help you control the board, it can grab an Otter to give you elusive pressure, so this card does a lot for its mana cost. Lux, one of our champions at the top end here, he gives us a controlling element. So whenever you've played 6+ mana worth of spells, she levels up and creates you a final spark. And that final spark deals 4 damage to an enemy, so helps you really control the board. With this in mind, we play a lot of bigger spells like Remembrance and Star Shaping to help us trigger her consistently. At the bottom end of our curve, we've got some Zoes here that generate super cool star charts, which are also spells to help us level Lux. Zoe's level up is also very reasonable because she's self-enabled with those super cool star charts. Then her leveled mode lets us close games out in the mid to late game by dropping another elusive unit and giving everything we have elusive. So let's dive on into some games here with this and see how it goes today. We have not played with Pale Cascade post-nerf. I do think a lot of decks that are interested, I think a lot of the decks that were previously interested in Pale Cascade probably aren't interested in playing that card anymore. So opponent's playing Anivia. I think I'm full mulliganing, just looking for Zoe here. 2, 3, 4 here, so not Zoe, but not terrible either. We're definitely the beatdown in a matchup like this. I think this matchup's probably really bad for us. Our interaction isn't super great here. To comment on Pale Cascade again, this deck was playing Sharp Sight even before the Pale Cascade nerf, because being able to protect our threats a little bit better and block elusives is really important in our control deck. Yeah, I really was not a fan of the Pale Cascade nerf, as we've talked about before. I think outside of explicitly Nightfall synergy decks, I probably wouldn't want to be playing that card anymore, which is sad. I probably, in fact, need to go through the decks on my website and delete a bunch of them. Because of the Pale Cascade nerf, they're just not competitive anymore, most likely.
And lights the way.
Welcome to the tipsy.
I mean, Diana wasn't even popular before they nerfed it. Like, she already struggled to be playable before the nerf, so like, post-nerf, she's definitely unplayable. Hey, thanks for the 38 months, Engineer, and I appreciate the tier 2. Welcome back. I'll try and protect Zozo here. Will I try Aphelios Twisted Fate over Diana Twisted Fate? I don't know. That deck's probably just not playable. Like I said, I think that deck's probably just bad. Like making Pale Cascade worse means that deck has a harder time drawing cards. And like that's a Nightfall deck, so like maybe that's fine, but like that archetype's probably just one I delete now off the site. I don't know. I also might end up just taking down the Runeterra deck page on my site in general. Splitting my time streaming Magic and Runeterra means it's going to be harder to maintain that.
I've become who I was always meant to
It's harder to get all the decks I want to keep up there consistently to showcase videos of them.
Something ancient stirs.
I also don't really plan to continue. I mean, I don't even plan. I don't plan to continue posting the shorter highlight videos anymore because those just weren't popular. Nobody was watching them. There are a lot of extra effort to do video editing every single day for those, for something that most people aren't watching. This is dying anyways, so it's a free block, right? Nah, those two things aren't really comparable, Engineer. Even those types of videos, YouTube doesn't make any money for me, best Ryan ever. So like for reference, to give you context into my content and thoughts on things, for a long time I just ignored YouTube for the most part. I just uploaded stream archives and that was all I did. And you know, people that have survivorship bias told me for a long time that the reason why my YouTube content didn't do well was because I didn't put more energy into it. I didn't do thumbnails, I didn't do better video descriptions, I didn't do clickbait titles, I didn't do video editing, and like for Runeterra over the last 4 months, I took the time and I did all of those things you often hear people recommend to do to like make YouTube work, and none of them work. Like, the reality is all of those things that other people recommend doing, they only actually work because they also got lucky in addition to doing them. Which was what I assumed was the case. I assumed that they didn't actually, it didn't actually result in more clicks or whatever, but it was nice to finally spend a little bit of time and confirm that that's the case. All the people I've talked to that are successful on YouTube, they basically tell the same story where like they were posting videos for a long time and then one day, 1 or 2 videos they posted, the algorithm decided that they liked it, they took off, and then everything they posted after that started getting recommended heavily to get lots of views.
One candle for every soul.
I mean, that's exactly what I use my YouTube channel for, Best Ryan. It's a way to organize my Twitch content.
We each died, then found hope.
Yeah, being actually subscribed to people on YouTube has no basis on what you actually see, because YouTube figured out that showing people the content that they subscribe to as opposed to serving them up recommendations caused people to watch less YouTube. So like people complain about the ways that YouTube does things, but like YouTube does things because of people's watching habits. I just don't know how we ever win this matchup. Don't think we can win. Their control deck's just much bigger than ours. We can't beat Anivias and Rekindlers and Harrowings. The opponent's archetype gaining in popularity with the printing of Gluttony probably means our deck's not playable. right into Lee Sin Aphelios. Runeterra needs sideboards. The more I play, the more I'm convinced Runeterra needs sideboards. There's too many. They need sideboards. They need to change some of their designs. There's too many polarized matchups at the moment. I mean, I'm not gonna stop organizing my YouTube channel, Best Ryan. Like, the stuff that's on my main channel is gonna stay on my main channel. I'm explicitly just not going to be doing shorter edited videos anymore. So like, putting thumbnails on things is pretty quick because I scripted a tool that lets me do it quickly and stuff like that. And the only thing I'm changing on my I'm going back to minimal effort YouTube.
I call this constellation the jump rope.
Yeah, so I know my regulars like the organization that's up there now, so like that's useful for people that sub to me on Twitch. So that's definitely not changing. Yeah, the minimal effort YouTube is good value generation in general.
Your path ends here.
Yeah, for reference, like adding the edited videos on YouTube doubled the amount of time I was spending preparing content for YouTube every day. It took me from like 30 to 40 minutes to like well over an hour every single day to put up some edited videos, which would be worthwhile if it was converting into anything, but it just wasn't.
First we fight. We should be friends. It is easy, see?
Alright, I think we're just star charting here. Generate some more value. Crescent Strike's probably decent to have rolled up. I think I'm gonna attack with this and then bank Spell Mana this turn. So that way we can go Lux with 3 mana up next turn.
The sun is shining. We should too.
I'd never keep my guests waiting.
If you say there should be separate best of 1 and best of 3 modes in Runeterra, yeah, probably. People like best of 1. I don't know. Just from a... I feel like in the last number of sets, the way the format in Runeterra has shifted, my desire to play sideboarded games has gone way up compared to what it was when I first started playing. Oh, they're gonna murder Zoe because of this trigger. That's awkward. Oh, and he's gonna survive. That's awkward. Okay, I guess we just take this hit.
Oh, dizzy.
Hmm? Concerted Strike does not kill Vlad here, right? Is he gonna level mid-strike? Oh, it does. The first one hits him, he goes to 1, and then he levels, he's at 2 with tough. I mean, to be fair, Rulig, like, I am friendly with a number of people that have very large numbers of views on YouTube, and like the amount of money you make from like if you're someone that's getting, you know, let's say 50 to 100,000 views on a video per day, you're probably making high 5 figures or low 6 figures on YouTube ad revenue in a lot of cases. Obviously, there's exceptions to every rule and there's some variance, but like, I know people that like, they make a full-time income off of just YouTube.
Good times, good friends. What could be better?
This was brutal. Now I can't kill this with Final Spark. This only does 1 damage and Final Spark only does 3.
Let the flames take you.
Better! Brighter than before!
Alright, and then before we commit to using this Final Spark, I'm gonna hook with Valor here. So this way, if they save this, I can Final Spark it still.
Snuffed out.
Hey, nice Eric, dude.
A beacon through the dark!
Yeah, if they don't open, I get to Crescent Strike. I think I just take this hit, then we do this and hope to hit a silence. None of those are the silence I wanted for Christmas. I think we do this because it gives us a beam here. And then we can beam this. And then next turn we can open on Remembrance to beam it again.
Fire knows it so.
So I need to kill that. Let's start with single combat here. Actually, I want to single combat with Lux, right? Because that way they can't troll chant or frostbite her or whatever. I want to make sure this dies before I commit this here, basically.
Strength through suffering.
And that's why we waited.
Show me your best.
I will end this here.
Oh, I could have healed Lux, right? Maybe that was right. Well, I can still heal Lux, that's true. Is that what I want to do? That's probably worth it, right? Oh, I'm dumb. This doesn't actually... No, wait, it goes to 8? Yeah, that'll save her, right? She goes to 1? Yeah, okay. He's doing 7 with this, so it depends on what this draw is. Yeah, I think she's worth more than 5 life too. Yeah, this gem next turn's another final spark. So this gem gets to kill this. Are we actually gonna win this game? I did not think we were gonna win this game a second ago. Shit, we are gonna win this game.
Lights the way.
Man. So anyways, we started blasting. Yeah, that was a nice game, chat. It was a nice game. Lux has a strong back, yeah. Yeah, the spell shield on Lux giving her that extra toughness was pretty instrumental there, right? Matsi, thanks for the follow. Welcome to the channel. Stretch the legs out, huh? How hard was this deck hit by the nerf bat? Not too hard. Technically, I don't... So, Hush wasn't a strict nerf for this deck because Hush costing more mana is better for Lux in some situations. Plaza was a bit of a nerf. It's not too terrible, I don't think. Your deck is still plenty playable without Plaza. It's probably a go hard deck, right? A full mulligan looking for Zoe. It's another matchup where, so like, the tough part about this deck is I feel like it's pretty unwinnable against a lot of these infinite value GOAT late game decks.
Hold the world within.
Like Anivia, Aesol, Spooky Karma, like these matchups seem like they're pretty unwinnable for us. And like in general, I don't know that those style of decks are super popular. Like, Anivia's popped up with this latest patch because of Gluttony, but previously those decks like didn't see a ton of play. Like, I don't know that I necessarily dislike our deck in general, but we've definitely hit a shit set of matchups this morning for it. If the matchups that we've hit this morning are all going to become more popular, this deck's definitely not a good choice to play. I hate Tri-Beam as a card. It's a high variance crap show. Not only is what you generate with Tri-Beam high variance, but being able to draw Tri-Beam early is high variance. So it's high variance in two different ways. Isn't Victor also a high variance crap show? No, not at all. Not even remotely the same. In fact, Victor's a card where its variance minimizes the longer it stays in play. So Victor is higher variance at the start, but the longer Victor is on the battlefield, the less variance he has.
Demacian soldier is worth tenfold.
Because once you wear down keywords,
March.
You cannot win.
yeah, Tri-Beam doesn't allow the opponent the ability to play around it at all, and it doesn't allow the person who's playing it to minimize its variance, because not only is it random what you get, but it's also random if you can draw Tri-Beam early. That's the toughest part about it in my mind. It's not even just that Tri-Beam randomly generates units. It's that Tri-Beam also randomly is awful if you draw it on turn 8, right? Like, the power level between Tri-Beam in your opening hand and Tri-Beam coming off the top is night and day.
Sunlight guide you, my brethren.
I think we just take this. We're definitely the beatdown in this matchup, so picking up this is nice. That's actually a great generation. Great. Okay, so now the nice thing about my opponent putting us in a box there is it means that they cannot Ruination me this turn. I'm gonna go ahead and open on double gem here, so this can attack into Thresh without trading. Obviously, they can have Vile Feast, but if we get a Vile Feast, that's not terrible. This has Scout, so the first time it attacks, we get to attack again. Videos on Who's the Beatdown actually don't get a lot of views, or like, they're not... You can't make a video on Who's the Beatdown in a way that people want content to be, if that makes sense. Because understanding Who's the Beatdown isn't just this, like, here's a checklist of things you do to know if you're the beatdown. It's this incredibly nuanced thing that varies game to game, deck to deck, matchup to matchup, draw to draw. Death, thank you for the 28 months. I appreciate that. Welcome back.
There is hope.
And Bircha Baby, thanks for the follow.
Return to us.
There aren't just like cut and dry, this is how you determine you're the beatdown. Yeah, we're in a good spot. We're actually able to get aggressive here. Their late game this was an incredibly good generation. The fact that we hit this and then they didn't have any good way to deal with it was the difference here. Yeah, there isn't some cut and dry formula where you're like, follow these these are the 6 secret tips the pro Runeterra players don't want you to know when it comes to knowing who's the beatdown. There isn't really a cut and dry easy answer. What is the beatdown? Who is the beatdown is a way to talk about what your position is in a given matchup. It's basically like the fundamental of it is asking yourself the question, if this game goes long, who is more likely to win, me or my opponent? And it's a question that's actually a lot harder to answer in Runeterra than it is in a game like Magic or Hearthstone, because Runeterra tends to offer a lot more dynamic gameplay game to game. Your decks don't assume super linear specific roles in Runeterra like they do in games like Magic. So here's a thought. What if we... I think I want to just put more lethal threats into play here, right? So I think we just play Doggo, and then if they ruinate me, I can deploy a bunch of idiots, right? Rekindler. Okay, so... I think we just do this now and smash them, right?
Stand strong.
Yeah, I was actually talking about that earlier today, Drunk Owl. I feel like Fang's being epic rarity is a bit of a departure from the normal rarity definitions we see in Runeterra. I want to actually hook this one first, because if they block with this last, they could level this up, right? I don't want that to happen. Because generally speaking, this feels like a rarity crept card, and I'm hoping this is atypical, because if you look at Runeterra's designs, generally speaking, Runeterra doesn't just put good cards at epic rarity. Most of the epics in Runeterra to date are cards that are fancy or neat or fill some specific role that's narrow. This is comparable. This is just putting a good card at a high rarity, which is something Runeterra typically doesn't do or hasn't done. So I'm hoping that this is an exception and not the new norm. Rarity does matter in this game because it dictates how expensive the decks are. So like, if Runeterra, just to give you a hypothetical, if Runeterra moved from decks being made up of primarily commons and rares to primarily epics, deck prices would double. The theoretical maximum for the price of a deck in Runeterra is like $55 if the deck was all epics and champions. And you're right that $55 is still cheaper than other games, but it would still double the current pricing. Wow, got my remembrance notified. Feels bad, man. Yeah, pretty good open attacks here, though. Sharp Sight is nice in case they have 1 damage removal. How do you come up with this price? Epics, if you convert the coin price of buying a card to, you convert the coin price of buying a card to what it costs to buy coins for money. Assuming you buy coins $10 at a time, 100 coins is $1, which means champions are $3, epics are $1.20, rares are 30 cents, and commons are 10 cents. So if epics were to make up the core of the deck, most of your cards would be $1.20 each instead of 10 cents and 30 cents each. Yeah, the people saying Veiled Temple feels like the epic, I agree with that comparison. I think switching the rarities on those would have been ideal. based on their complexity and usability standpoint. Nah, I don't think you could factor in game rewards, because there are plenty of people who have no interest in grinding for anything. When like look at it this way, Control Magic, as someone who basically sells Runeterra to new people that come to watch my content for Magic, they're like, Jeff, what does it cost me to get into Runeterra just to start right away? There's a big difference between telling those potentially new players that it's $25 to get in versus $50 to get in. Like that's a big increase. I think we mulligan Lux here. We're attacking on evens. Grand Plaza into Fang sounds great attacking on evens. Goat's also good attacking on evens. Yeah, Jinx TF is something we played against already today. I think it popped up because of the new, what's the 1 mana card that they added that you draw a fleeting card when you discard it? It's very good with Image. I'm blanking on its name. It's one of the new ones. Stress testing, yeah, that's the one. They drew Suit Up. Gross. This is actually a really good draw, because paired with Grand Plaza, this gets to kill their 4-1, which is nice. Golden Sisters, easily the best generation here, especially considering we're attacking on evens. We'll get to deploy that next turn nicely. We're going to get to bank spell mana here. And banking spell mana lets us actually, they pass. Do I burn their mana? There's a good chance this attack in here gets beat by a Mystic Shot or a Get Excited anyways. So I think I'm actually just going to take the pass and burn their mana.
Leave or burn.
Yeah, our deck is definitely favored in a matchup like this if the game goes long, I think.
Soldiers, me.
So passing has a lot of appeal in an instant like that.
Lost a fair game. Eyes open.
So the problem, multiple of zeros, and for the record, I'm glad that they did login rewards, but people that come later won't get those login rewards, right? So, like, from the perspective of, like, what it does long term, it has more impact on new people that come into the game down the line.
What once was two.
Because here's a way to put it nicely. The people that are already playing, that are getting login rewards, y'all are hooked already. You've already been sold. I don't need to sell you again later.
I'm on the verge of something. I wonder.
Man, the Grand Plaza nerf was really brutal this game. It allowed them to Mystic Shot my goat earlier. It allowed them to Augmenter kill my 4-3 here. The nerf was a big deal here so far. We might still be okay because they haven't fished up a Jinx yet, but we're definitely in a much worse spot than we would be pre-nerf. Charger sounds great next turn. Feel like we should be in an okay spot still, thanks to the things.
Jinx stands for Jinx.
Durr. And with these single combats rolled up here, we should hopefully be able to kill Jinx this turn regardless. Yeah, Jinx has got to go. Okay, but what about second single combats? We've had first single combats. What about second single combats?
The sub rock got me going.
Game should be pretty done at this point. Gem this up and push an extra point of damage here. They get to trade here, but like, I'm up to 14. I'm super far ahead on board. We're up on cards in hand too. That one. Sure, but like, so what chat is doing, it's like, there's some whataboutisms coming up in chat that are annoying. So like, when someone points out that the Fangs is being an epic wild card is a departure from the norm, you saying, well, Runeterra is still the friendliest pay to play model or whatever, like, that's still true. Nobody's saying that. And you bringing that up isn't relevant to the fact that the Fangs being an epic wild card is a departure from what we've seen already. So like, you saying like, well, but this other thing isn't relevant to the discussion. Like, yeah, that's true, but like, that being true doesn't prevent you from having legitimate criticism of the other thing. I also don't think like criticism shouldn't automatically be considered negative. Like, I get that like everybody here pretty much loves Runeterra, but like, you can love something and still say, hey, this thing happened and maybe we should talk about that. Is that the new normal? Like, is this what it's gonna be? Like, that's okay to talk about. I think we just play Remembrance here now, huh? I don't want a Plaza because I can't attack with it this turn. This is super resource efficient. And then on 4, we get to Plaza. And then on R5, we can deploy some stuff to hook in. Like, R5 could be both of these. Dragon.
Daylight warms the heart and lights the way.
What about as a departure? Look at the departure Maka art is usually just epics aren't just good cards. The part of the reason why Runeterra decks are so cheap and affordable is because they're made up of largely rares. I think I'm taking a hit from this and playing Plaza this turn. Am I? If they pass and burn one of my mana, that's fine for me, right?
One shot, all skill.
I'd rather sharp sight or single combat. I think I'd rather single combat, actually. Yeah, it's close. That's true. There's definitely a subset of people currently in chat that are hanging out waiting for Magic to start in a half hour too. That's why people ask me why I decided to do split days as opposed to one day all Magic and one day all Runeterra. It's because you get overlapping audience that way. Doing days with both breaks it up for me a little bit too, as well as encourages audience overlap. I've liked the split days too. Reflects the complexity of the card. Sure, but the complexity of Fangs is arguably lower than the complexity of Spacey Sketcher, and Spacey Sketcher is not an epic card. This card is arguably less complex than Spacey Sketcher.
I am superior life form.
Is it too aggressive to single combat to play Radiant? I mean, you can't objectively measure complexity. You can just compare it in the context of other cards. And in the context of other similar cards, this is on par with many other rares.
I fight for the fallen.
Okay, so this survived the single combat because of the Mystic Shop, but remember we've got the Grand Plaza here to give things challenger, so I think we're getting Zozo down ASAP. There's a good chance she just eats it here, but if she doesn't, she gets to generate some good value.
Soldiers, to me.
No, I think looking at Fangs as a target zap is a super reasonable assessment. It is a 4-mana card that basically draws a card when it comes into play. Hey, what's going on, Witch Doc? Yeah, Runeterra is gonna be at the start of our streams again. Few hours to start the day.
Safety disengaged.
Grand Plaza is worse, Moonboot. So single combat and Grand Plaza fill a similar role in a deck like this. And because Grand Plaza is no longer good enough to play as a 3 of, we need something else to fill that kind of role in. I think I just take this pass at this point. We're burning similar amounts of mana. I don't really want them like to drop an Ezreal or an Aphelios here.
System upgrade.
I'll just take the good boy at this point.
I've become who I was always meant to be.
Is Zap an epic?
Put on me mask.
I genuinely didn't realize that. If Zap is an epic, then my position that it's a departure probably not probably. It's not accurate. That's good. That actually makes me feel a lot better. I think comparing it to Zap is super reasonable, and if Zap is an epic, it's probably stat line fine as is. I rescind my concern in the face of new information, chat. Yeah, exactly. You need to make a Reddit thread now about how I'm inconsistent and can't stick to my guns and how I flip-flop back and forth. Fox News the shit out of me, chat. Do it. I think we just, like, this threat's not very good, but, like, we have so many answers at this point, we basically only want to draw threats, right?
Embrace the night, Aphelios.
Guess we just let that happen. I could sharp sight and then single combat. I actually don't hate that. It's pretty aggressive. Guess this leaves me a little bit soft to Ezreal, but we're also probably gonna kill them over the course of the next couple turns, huh?
Caliburn. Reach out, Aphelios.
And today, Jeff waffled like he was at an IHOP on the beach. Oh, that's a good line. You gonna murder a couple of my things in response here? I still have Hush going for Ezreal, I suppose.
Night flowers upon my blade.
You will be scoured from this land.
John Beckett, thanks for the follow. Welcome to the channel this morning. Daryl Fish, thank you for the 2 years. I appreciate that. Welcome back. Good morning. I want the spell shield one. Could go either way on that. And see it being right to take the big one. Got a thermo beam here. Oh, they're just pumping the Improbolator up, sure. Grandpappy Rumel. Alright, so this is technically lethal. Exactly lethal, according to the eye. Got him. Sorry, Grandpappy. I think 4 Demacia is fine at 6 mana because you're playing it. You're not actually playing the card 4 Demacia in your deck. Like, we're generating it off of a 3/3 for 3, which is what makes it playable. Also, 4 Demacia costing 6 is very good in this deck specifically because it levels up Lux on its own. I mean, I think our deck is good against, like, the good aggro decks in the format, too. It's just explicitly not good against the go-over-the-top control decks. This matchup is unwinnable, and I'm just not bothering to play it. Last time I liked this deck, the opponent's archetype. Anivia is the deck we've played against the most today, which is unfortunate because this deck can never win against it. Feels bad, man. When I do adjustments to decks when we play on Monday, I'm gonna have to consider the Anivia matchup. But I don't think you can make this archetype that we're currently playing have a winnable Anivia matchup without basically gutting it and making it worse in a bunch of other places. If the Anivia's popularity sticks post set release, you probably need to not play this deck that we're playing now. Like I said, without something like a sideboard, you just can't win matchups like that. What deck has a good matchup against Anivia? The aggressive decks tend to be okay there. The thing to understand about Anivia is I often describe the Anivia deck as blue-white control because it's a feels bad deck. It's one of those decks that, like, even when you beat the Anivia deck, you feel exhausted and tired and sad afterwards. Much like blue-white control in Magic. What deck did we use to climb to Masters with this season? So if you're new to the channel, I play mostly viewer-submitted decks here. So we climbed to Masters playing lots of different decks that people sent me to play in 90-minute increments.
I'm crumbling under what it doesn't understand, silly. Spare a coin.
Anivia is how I feel about almost all Control X Magic. Yeah, Assassin, it's big Magic Control deck energy for sure. Lee Sin's probably great against Anivia. Yeah, I would assume that's the case. Decks that play Deny almost assuredly slaughter it. Hey chat, this is why you play Sharpsight, not Pale Cascade. Even pre-Pale Cascade buff, it didn't save your Zoe's from Mystic Shots. Like, people were asking me, like, is Pale Cascade no longer playable in this deck? I wasn't playing Pale Cascade even before the nerf. Definitely a big fan of Sharpsight in this more controlling deck that's looking to protect Zoe. So, it depends on the deck you're playing, D-Rock, as to whether or not you end up having meaningful choices in the Anivia matchup. There's a lot of decks that basically just play Go Fish in the Anivia matchup, which is to say you're basically pot committed to playing into things like Ruination and Avalanche and just hoping they don't have it. And, like, if you have a deck, like, decks that play Deny, for example, or Bastion, those Lee Sin decks, and decks that play the same regions as Lee Sin, those decks tend to have pretty reasonable matchups there because they have cards that I definitely want to to focus on this game. I definitely want to open attacks because they could red card me this turn. I think I take this for later because if they do red card me, this could kill a Twisted Fate on my next turn. And I want to, okay, yeah, so we're getting red carded. Maybe if I'm expecting red card, I shouldn't attack here. Probably the case.
Never lost a fair game.
This attack might be bad. I think I'm just banking mana for now. Don't really have great open attacks anyways. Playing Goat doesn't stop them from having an open attack.
Jinx? Stands for Jinx? Durr.
Unyielding light.
Smile! It's called gunplay.
That's actually a great piece of advice there in chat. If you're someone that struggles against a particular deck type, one of the best things you can do is play that deck for yourself. Because playing a deck that feels unbeatable and then seeing what the counterplay is like against it and what it struggles against can give you a better feeling for what play patterns are helpful on the other side.
Is it?
Your Twitch recap for 2020 just showed up. That's funny. So, I hush this before I attack, right? So they can't draw two. So they can't draw two and level him. If they have a way to kill my sneaky snake here, I'm probably gonna die because this is gonna level. Yeah, it's super unfortunate. And I don't know that we beat level Twisted Fate, level Jinx. No single combat, no Plaza this game was rough. Yeah, I think Twisted Fate's a card that could stand to be adjusted bread. Have we done a Felioso? Yeah, we did it on the first day, Beansy. 10 to level, probably? Yeah, probably. That's probably would be where I'd start. I don't know. I also, so something that I think is incredibly unhealthy, and this happens in other games too, it's not just a Runeterra thing, it's a human thing, is too often when people have a problem with a particular card, they ask the people that have a problem with, they're like, well, how would you do it better? And it's like, well, it's not my job to fix a card that I think is the problem, right? Like, I'm not the game designer. I don't get paid to design Runeterra cards or Magic cards or whatever.
Now this game's here.
How's it going, oldest son? You're doing good? What do you need to tell me? Oh, so you're not doing very good if you lost your phone. Were you not being a very good listener? Oh, well, you need to focus, buddy. You're very capable of being a good listener. I've seen you be a good listener before. You are in charge of Jacob. Haley's not in charge of Jacob, okay? Okay, you need to focus on you, okay? It's not Haley's fault you were distracted.
I'm on the verge of something.
It's nobody's fault but Jacob's. You control Jacob, okay? I love you. Go play with some toys or something then if you lost your phone. You're bored? You got a whole basement full of toys, kid. Who listens better, Jacob or Twitch chat? Jacob by a small margin. I think we're dead, chat. This is leveling, and they're getting 3 more cards. Isn't some of the onus on the complainer? No, it's not. It's not, Mr. Breadcrumb. It's not. The onus isn't on the complainer at all. It's in fact, that was literally the point I was making. It's not the player's job. It's fine to say as a player, this is an effect that I don't like and I don't enjoy playing with or against it. And it's not my job to tell you what's bad about it. I don't get paid to do that. I'm playing a game for fun. I'm not a Riot employee. It's not my job to design the cards and balance the game and make sure they're fun. I think I want another single combat. I'm gonna cut the concerted strike. I'm conceding to Lee Sin anyways, so single combat seems a lot better for the cheaper, more efficient interaction. You can make suggestions, but it is a side effect of the toxic impact of late-stage capitalism that we have this, well, if you want to complain about something, you should be able to do it better and offer up a free solution to the multi-million-dollar company. It's like, no, I'm not. I'm the customer. It's not like there's a ton of, and plus, like, it's also offering up. Not only is it like not your job as the consumer to fix problems that you see, it's also past it just being that, God, just fucking all the Anivia decks today. Past it just not being your job as a consumer, it's also very egotistical to think that like you, the consumer, are better at designing the cards than the people whose job it is, right? Like, let the people whose professional job it is to like design cards, to come up with ideas. It's the idea that you need to provide a solution to something you're unhappy with as a customer is basically capitalism trying to make you work for free. That's what it is.
Forced us to choose death or the blade. Lunari, rise!
And I agree with the people that are saying you can give extra details if you want, but you're not required to, and the idea that like the expectation that you're supposed to be doing it is toxic and silly. So I was going to play Remembrance here, but I think I'd much rather get Zoe going, huh, since we drew her. Yeah, I don't think I didn't catch all of Swim. I feel like the Anivia deck isn't the type of deck that requires... The Anivia deck isn't the type of deck that requires someone to stream it. Like, there's a lot of people that like that style of do-nothing control deck that makes their opponent miserable. So, like, the fact that it got a new toy goes a long way for a lot of people. Oh, this is about to get an elusive unit, isn't it? Oh, Alan played Anivia. Sure. Yeah, that makes sense. Alan's big on do-nothing control.
You leave me no recourse.
Fall, heretic!
Yeah, that makes sense. If you could, BBG's like Runeterra's resident like mid-range streamer, Alan is Runeterra's resident control streamer.
Riddle me something cool!
Sunlight guide you, my brethren.
I call this constellation the Jump Rope!
Try and kill Aphelios here.
You cannot us down.
To be fair, I think the Anivia deck is a good example of a deck that's gonna prey on random brews that people have. Like, it's definitely got big brew crusher energy.
Bask in her radiant blessing.
Think I'd rather get Radiant Guardian with the bonus down here than the discounted Remembrance. I agree, Brad. I think Zoe has the best audio design in the game. She's really fantastic. All right, so we're gonna try and roll a Crescent Strike here to keep Zoe alive. Equinox also does it conveniently. I'm gonna take Moonglow to both try and level Zoe and to keep her alive. This is card 8. This is card 9. This is card 10. Have I not played a gem? I thought I played. Yeah, I played a gem on Danger Noodle when I killed the Felios. Maybe double take there for a second.
Let's do it over there.
They're not a sharp sight deck. They could have Hush plus something else to punish here. I feel like I'm not supposed to attack.
How's it going?
There's only one true
There's no reason to risk running into double Hush. Yeah, I'm just gonna play the 3/2 and see what they do. If they spend some resources here so they can't double Hush me. Yeah, this is good now. So they no longer have double Hush available. So I think we can attack now. I love the priority system in this game. It's so good. Who's a good boy that levels Zoe? Yes, you are. Yes, you are. It's very the skill the priority system of this game is so skill testing. Really gives you a ton of room for back and forth. I think I Remembrance here because this could hit a 5 power unit, and if I hit a 5 power unit, I can actually with the Zoe emblem, we just star shaping here to try and find an elusive, right? Yeah, that's the play. I'm gonna play this, and then we'll star shaping, and the high roll play is hitting the big one, the 9 drop. Got me. Oh right, the eye is bugged. Have to do math like some kind of plebeian. Taking 6 here down to 7. 9 drop. There's Poppy. Shields up, chat. Shields up. So, leveled Zoe shares keywords on all of my units when I play them. So when we play this Elusive Fury Spell Shield unit, the squad shares it around. Space monster, I choose you. So, the games we actually played in this set felt reasonable. That being said, I conceded to Anivia a bunch, and like I said during those games, if Anivia is going to be a deck that's popular in the format, you just can't play this deck. They just go way over the top of what you're doing, and you just can't consistently get under them and apply pressure without like gutting and rebuilding the deck. I think the one, I don't even know that I think if you play Asol, the deck just looks a little bit different, because then things like Remembrance and Vanguard Sergeant suddenly aren't very good, and I think you're just a different deck at that point, Brad. But honestly, I'd be surprised if even the Asol builds are good against the Anivia deck, because I think the Rekindler Anivia Harrowing plan just goes over the top of what Asol is able to do as well. Like, I think the Asol build would probably still be the beatdown in this matchup, but it's just not good enough at doing that. I think the one change I would make to this deck after playing through that set is, one, I think with the Plaza nerf, this card is definitely a 2 of. It's still playable, but I definitely don't want more than 2. I never want to draw a second copy. And with the Plaza nerf, Blinding Assault wasn't playable. The fact that this with Plaza can't eat a 1-attack thing and then eat something else means it's a lot worse. And we were playing this as a way to enable Radiant Guardian, but with the addition of Fangs, we don't need Radiant Guardian as consistently, which is why I went down to 2 of them. And with the addition of single combat and with Plaza being less of a card that we're playing, this also helps enable Radiant Vine. So I think I would cut this and play something else. I don't know exactly what I would add in. You could probably just pick your favorite cards. You could have like a Hush. You could, even if you wanted to be cute and play like a 2 of, like I played Spell Thief before. That card's been good. Guiding Touch if you want to hedge aggro. So there's a lot of small like tech cards you can put in this deck depending on what you want to be good or bad against. When I go back to Succession, I don't think so. So Succession was only good in this deck because Plaza was great with it. And the fact that Plaza doesn't give that extra toughness anymore, and I'm down to 2 Plazas, makes Succession a lot worse. I think if I wanted more enablers for Lux, which could be possible, honestly, it could be right to play a 3rd Vanguard Sergeant, because against in the matchups like Anivia, maybe this is a card that's enough to help you win, right? Like this 4 Demacia burst damage really can allow you to steal games when you need to be the beatdown. So if there's more bigger control decks and you really want to try and play this deck still, doing this so you can be more aggressive is a super reasonable way to approach it, I think. This is a card that like allows us to be aggressive consistently, but it isn't all in on that plan. All right, at any rate, we're going to go ahead and shift gears to some Magic Arena for the next few hours on stream. For folks that haven't seen my new schedule, I've been back to doing some Magic, and I've been enjoying their standard format. So I'm going to be doing a few hours of Runeterra every single morning during the week, and then a few hours of Magic afterwards. And as always, you can find all of the replays on my YouTube channel. Planning to do at least 2 Runeterra decks a day still, so still plenty of variety in there.